Hi, I'm Jenna, Instructional Designer and Media Studio Coordinator here at UAA, and I want to talk to you a little bit about color accessibility. So, accessible use of color can benefit all kinds of people. Can benefit people with visual disabilities like low vision or color blindness, or folks with learning disabilities or developmental disabilities as well. And it can even benefit really anybody who is looking at your materials in a low lit room or on a screen in the bright sunshine. So, almost anyone can benefit from us using color accessibly in our materials. First, we'll talk about color contrast. You see here an example of light text on a light background and dark text on a dark background. Those are both really difficult to read because there's not a whole lot of distinction between the foreground and the background, or the text color and the background. If I switch these things around a little bit, you'll see that the dark text on a light background is much easier to read, and the light text on a dark background is much easier to read as well, because there's more contrast happening between that front and back part of the image, the text and the background. So the way they technically refer to this is the color contrast ratio. Here's an example of what the color contrast ratio kind of looks like. The top is 21:1, and that is black to white. That's the highest level of contrast. And at the bottom, it would be 1:1. So that's black text on a black background, which is impossible to read. So we want to hit somewhere in the middle here. The minimum for the kind of online standards is 4.5:1 for regular text. So that looks a little bit like this. You can have it a little bit lower if the text is bigger or bolder, because that makes it easier to read. But really, we want to hit in this realm of color contrast so that there's sufficient difference between the text and the background. So the other thing we want to talk about is the accessible use of color by using more than just color to convey information. So this might look like if you give somebody a graph and you say, okay, the yellow line indicates a certain data set, and the pink line indicates another data set. Now, if you weren't able to see these colors, would that make a whole lot of sense? No, it wouldn't. So you can think about this if your color printer ran out of ink and you were just printing in black and white. Would people still be able to understand the content that you're making? So you could say something instead, like the solid line indicates this, and the dashed line indicates this. And so now, even if we lose all the color, it still makes sense. So this can be the case for graphs or charts or images or even text. If you're using, only one color to convey information and saying everything important in this paragraph is red, maybe also indicate that with some other thing, bold or italicized, or adding some other indicator of how that information is important so that anyone can interact with your material and understand what you're trying to convey. So hopefully that helped you learn a little bit more about how to use color accessibly and use sufficient contrast and more than just color to convey information. If you liked this video and want to make some of your own like this with a learning glass type setup, you can contact me in the Instructional Media Studio at UAA_instructional media at alaska.edu, or call me at 907-786-4850.